Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Your brother Najib here, and today is a very special day. Today is a very special day. How you feeling, Athman? How you feeling, Idris?
Alhamdulillah, very good. Very good.
MashaAllah. Today we're starting our first podcast, the Deen Lovers podcast.
Oh, mashallah.
Where we discuss the essentials of the Deen lovers and their life, so on and so forth. I keep hitting the table, so you know what I mean.
That's what I was telling you about.
I'm just used to that. So we want to welcome you guys to the Deen Lovers podcast, and inshallah we're going to be discussing very important, essential topics here. Give us your ideas and feedback on what topics you'd like to hear on the podcast. It's all about Deen loving, which is loving yourself, loving Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and loving each other and Ahlul Iman at large. That's the foundation of Deen, love. Those three loves, from the most essential and most crucial loves of life. So we're going to get going today. Today, obviously, we got a very, very important topic coming up, which is Ramadan is coming up in about less than a month and a half.
Yeah. I think we're in Rajab right now. It's just the end of Rajab. We're going into Sha'ban.
Yeah.
Soon.
Is there a countdown?
I don't know. We're going to talk about countdowns towards the end, inshallah.
So it's about to be really, really intense. And so today, the topic that we're going to be discussing is, in our intro to the podcast series, is the Ramadan, in preparation for it, in planning for it, and all the essential and most important ways we can all take full advantage and benefit of Ramadan, one of the most important times of the year that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has singled out for purposes that inshallah we'll be discussing today. And so I want to open up the floor to the brothers. Today we got Uthman in the building, and then we got the one and only, the royal Akhi.
Wow. We're honored.
We're honored that.
That name is gone. That name is gone.
Stop playing with me, bro.
It's gone.
What happened, bro? You changed the name?
I had to change it.
Oh, man.
I had to change it.
We got Idris in the building, mashallah. Love having the brothers together. We actually haven't spent much time together in a long time.
Yeah.
Everybody's kind of been divided, separate, and so everybody's focused on their own personal things and just so.
Which is good. It's not necessarily a bad thing.
For sure. Yeah. There's times
be productive. At least you're productive, right?
Yeah.
We don't want you just sit on the couch at home.
But when we see each other, it's all love and
inshallah.
Sure.
You know, we know we're getting work
Exactly.
done just in our own individual capacities.
For sure. So inshallah today we got Ramadan. Idris, let's begin with some of the essentials of Ramadan. What do you think is the most and the best, some of the key strategies people can do before Ramadan, before they get to Ramadan?
First and foremost, I want to tell everybody, support,
Yeah.
subscribe, like, share. It's very important to support your brother in good. It's very easy to share the negative things, the music. So we should also put that same energy in when it comes to khair. So inshallah, share, subscribe to the channel, like you said, comment your ideas on things you guys want to see and hear about. Ramadan is a very important time of the year for Muslims, for all Muslims, right? So whether the guy is a scholar, a layman, or somebody who's a murderer, drinks and smokes, it's important for everybody.
Absolutely.
So and this is the time of the year that, honestly, there's an analogy that a sheikh gave once. He gave two analogies. One of them was like, he said, imagine the preparation part. Imagine somebody you love dearly, like your mother, is away for an entire year.
Wow.
Right? He said, when she's coming back, how would you prepare for it? Right? He said, would you just show up at the airport like, hey, mom, let's go? Or would you actually, clean the house and make food and go all out? Right? Ramadan is that time of the year we love. It's coming back, so we have to prepare for it.
Absolutely.
Right? We actually have to look forward to it. We have to kind of change our lifestyles now. That way it's easier when Ramadan comes, inshallah.
Absolutely.
For sure. Uthman, what have you seen to be some of the key and the best strategies in preparation for Ramadan?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Wa salatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa ashabihi wa man wala. Amma ba'din. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says in the Quran, شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس, right? So he says the first and most important thing is to revive your relationship with the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala he mentions about this verse here. He even goes on to say that this hudan linnas is a guidance for the people, right?
Sure.
So Allah, we know we always need these sort of reminders. If we didn't have Ramadan, this would be disaster for this ummah. No such thing as a month where people are taken as a retreat to reestablish their connection with their Lord and to reestablish connection with His words. And wallahi, we all need this, because like we just mentioned, we haven't been with each other in a while. Imagine we're again, dunya, and sometimes we get lost in it, and we have our families and things like that. So the significance of Ramadan is that we actually have time to make up for all the losses that we had in the year. And Allah, He has so much mercy in it. So it's such a beautiful month, and preparing for it is very essential if we wish to reap as much rewards as
for sure
as we can.
That's a good point, brother. I just want to touch up on the mercy part. The second analogy, I didn't want to mention the first, but the second analogy was the sheikh, he said, it's like your teacher. They tell you, yo, there's a final exam left, right? You've been failing the whole class. This final exam, if you pass it, I'm going to turn all those other exams into A's.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
Right? Which idiot would ever say, no, thank you. Right? I'll pass. I'll take that. Nobody does that.
Yeah.
And in reality, we do that, right? Because Allah is saying, you know what? Out of all these 11 months you've been doing all these garbage things, that's hurting yourself. Not even me, but you've been hurting yourself. I give you this 1 month. I give you, this chance to make it up. Just this 1 month. In it, you have Laylatul Qadr, which is, 83 years worth of. So you'd be a fool to pass up on this,
Yeah.
And that's why the Prophet ﷺ says, may his nose be rubbed in dirt, the one who does not get the forgiveness of Allah in Ramadan. Because it's nearly, if you don't receive the forgiveness of Allah in this month, it's on you. Yeah. You literally said no thank you to Allah.
Yeah.
Right? Allah gave you every door possible. He opened it for you, and you said nope, no thank you.
You really have to put in effort not to get the mercy of Allah. There's so many incentives in this one that we'll touch on, inshallah.
Which is sad, yeah.
One of the greatest strategies that some of the Sahaba and the Salaf they used to do was that they used to start fasting at least 6 months prior to Ramadan, so that they can get their bodies, their mind in shape. Because one of the most foundational things about Ramadan is it's not meant for your body. It's meant as a spiritual purification. That's why you eat less food, less everything for your body, but more for ibadah and building your ruh and your imaniyat. So one of the greatest strategies that the Salaf used to implement was that they used to fast way prior. Same thing from the Sunnah. Prophet ﷺ used to fast the month before Ramadan way more than any other month throughout the year.
Yeah.
And so fasting before Ramadan and getting your body in shape so that when Ramadan does come, you take full capacity and benefit from all of the other ibadat. Absolutely. And you're not just, imagine somebody who used to eat 4 or 5 times a day and then one day, boom, starts fasting. You're going to crash.
Yeah.
So this is one of the negatives that some people do, is that they don't prepare fasting, which is a month of fasting. So if you already fasted, you're ready for the marathon.
Absolutely.
You could take off now.
Of course.
Yeah.
But imagine if there's a marathon of like 10 miles and you never ran. You come to the marathon. Oh my God.
You're done.
That person is long gone.
Yeah.
Subhanallah.
It's very important, yeah. Because I remember, man, a lot of people, when they ask for advice, people tell them, it's kind of sad. They're like, hey, try your best to read half a page of the Quran, because they know these people are not in shape.
Right,
you get what I'm saying? So like, if you see somebody who's clearly overweight and they're trying to run a marathon, you're like, brother, don't start with a marathon.
Yeah, don't
right? Because so a lot of people, they ask for these advice because they're in very bad shape.
Yeah.
Where the Salaf, they would finish the Quran in 3 days.
Yeah.
Right? So that's because they were in shape for that. You can't tell somebody today to finish the Quran. Try your best to finish the Quran every 3 days. It's impossible, right? So the 6 months, obviously, not a lot of people do that, but at least 1 month. We have 1 month. So that 1 month, try your best to increase the ibadat. That way, when Ramadan comes, you're actually in shape. You won't fall. You'll only increase, right? So now we could tell that person to at least try to read 1 juz, right? Yeah. So, like you mentioned, way before Ramadan, 6 months, obviously we only have a month and a half left now, so even that is important, even a week, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Subhanallah.
And also I like to add, the Sahaba used to say that the Prophet ﷺ, he used to fast in the month of Sha'ban like that's the month that he used to fast the most in. And they said when he used to fast, it would be as if he would never break his fast. And when he broke his fast, it would be as if he was never going to fast again.
Yeah.
Right? So the Prophet ﷺ definitely, he made ihsan out of all of it.
Yeah.
Right? And it's to show us that, if we do stray off into the dunya somehow, there's a path to follow, and there is a way back for everybody, right? So, some people are like, well, I'm so far off, I'd have to do so much, what's the point?
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, no, there's actually a lot of benefit, because even in this Ramadan, if you're not fully, cleansed spiritually, there may be another Ramadan next for you. You know what I'm saying? So it's a lot more. And then also I want to also touch into, the Prophet ﷺ, he says, إذا جاء رمضان فتحت أبواب الجنة وغلقت وأغلقت أبواب النيران or أبواب النار. It says when the month of Ramadan comes, the doors of Jannah, the gates of Jannah are open, and the gates of the hellfire are closed. This is dua, or this hadith, I made my students that are 5 years old memorize it, right? And they can say it now, mashallah, because it's just so important. Because Allah, like we mentioned before, so many incentives. Allah's, he's saying he closed the doors, the shayateen are locked up, you know what I'm saying, and quarantined and all those things. So Allah, there's just so many incentives. But if you want to have a successful one that you can derive as much benefit as you can, then you want to start preparing before. So whether it's fasting more Mondays and Thursdays, if you can't do that, just every week, once a week, something, read Quran, just start off little, and then by the time Ramadan comes, you're ready. It's like fighters, UFC fighters preparing for a fight. They prepare months
long
before.
training.
They just so inshallah ta'ala, may Allah make it successful for us.
Idris Akhi, what do you think of also one of the most powerful incentives and things that strengthen a person's Ramadan? Is the point of Ramadan is to get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to be able to have that momentum of an increased iman, at least by the end. Where does the role of Salah come in all this?
Salah obviously is more important than Ramadan itself, right?
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where if you don't pray, Ramadan, your goal should be, I want to pray 5 times a day now, right? If you're going to get anything out of Ramadan, it should be that, right? You'll get out of Ramadan way better than you were before.
Absolutely.
Right? Some scholars will say you'll leave a Muslim now, right? Now you're a Muslim. So inshallah, try your best. If that's the type of person you are, try your best. This is the easiest month you could do it now, right? Because, and honestly, one thing I wanted to mention was, in Qawaid al-Arba', the Sheikh, he mentions that the disbelievers of this time, he says they're worse than the ones during Quraysh.
Wow.
Right? So this kind of made me remember of a fact when you go through Sirah, you understand that the Quraysh, disbelievers of Quraysh, before Islam, there are certain months they respected. They honored. Right? A guy yesterday killed your dad. Today, if the month comes in, you can't fight this guy. This guy, he's walking around, he killed your dad. That's how much they honored the months. The Muslims of today, they don't even honor Ramadan anymore. Right? Because honestly, you go on Snapchat, you go on these places, people are publicly eating. Back in the day, people, even if the guy's not fasting, he'll go through basements and, he'll eat. You'll never find out. Now it's everywhere and the music is still playing. So it's like, they're just, as a community, we don't see a big difference, and it should be shunned. People should be like, yo, that's disrespectful to Ramadan. We don't care if you're not fasting, but at least respect the month. Don't do these things that you were doing before. At least the minimum it should be out of respect to Ramadan. Because the disbelievers of Quraysh, with no iman, nothing, they did it out of respect to the month. Right? So at least have the decency to respect Ramadan and make it easy for the brothers and sisters that are fasting. Right? Don't put food on your Snapchats and things like that, and music. Don't make it hard on people, right? But like you were saying, back to Salah, if you're somebody that does not pray, a brother or sister that does not pray, it's very hard for them to pray. Try your best to start off Ramadan by focusing on your prayer. Actually create a checklist. Fajr, Dhuhr. And I know that's very, childish, but you have to do it.
Yeah,
it's something you have to do. It sounds childish, but it's very important. Yeah. And then the brothers that do pray, bro, do you pray in the masajid?
Jama'ah.
Right? Do you pray in the jama'ah?
Jama'ah, absolutely.
Right? Do you pray on time? So don't think that just because you pray 5 times a day, you're good. No. Do you pray with khushu'? Right? Yes. Do you pray with khushu'? So there's so many questions. So there's always space to improve in Islam. Sure. Right? Just because you pray 5 times a day doesn't mean you're better than somebody that doesn't pray.
Absolutely.
Right? You are better, but you have a long way to go too.
Absolutely.
Right? So don't look at the people that are below you, look at the people that are above you.
Yeah. And then when you look at those individuals who are struggling, even such a month would be an opportunity to be helping out, right? So grabbing those people that are drowning and pulling them out of the water, definitely. This is just a time really that all of the good deeds that we do, or all of the favorable acts, are even emphasized much more in this month, right? But I like what Akhuna Idris was saying was about the prayer. Like, people don't understand the severity of the prayer. Like, you'll have people go to Tarawih but not pray any of the prayers and say, I fasted today and I'm just gonna, right? The station, the maqam of the salah anymore is just like, it's not even a big deal. People are just like, well, you can still be Muslim if you don't pray at all. Like, how are you an unsubmitting submitter? That doesn't make any sense. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So the salah, and I agree with Akhuna that salah is the number one thing that you need to have on check. Sure. Right? Number one on check, because if you don't have that, then none of your a'mal is even accepted. Right? You can be nice to I'm good to my mom, at least I don't commit crimes. You're committing one of the biggest crimes, and that's not submitted to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yeah. Right. So that's number one, should be on everybody's priority list, whether you're doing it right now or not. If you're not doing it, you should be doing it. And if you're doing it, there's many ways to perfect it.
For sure. For sure. Yeah, Salah is one of those things that you'll see people who actually practice Ramadan, but they neglect Salah.
Yeah, subhanAllah.
And sometimes it's the pressure of the environment and community that they would have to be fasting, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then usually when it comes to Salah, they're very weak in it. So obviously we're hoping that one of the most important foundational preparations for Ramadan is start getting your Salah in good shape.
May Allah make it easy for all of us too.
For sure. Another key thing that I noticed is a lot of people who, especially older people who have work all the time and they have the capacity to take a month off, they usually, or a few weeks off from work and everything, they don't choose the month of Ramadan to take time off.
Wow.
What they do is, they use it other times where they can use their vacation time for other things, instead of planning
at least the last 10
4
weeks,
weeks or at least 2 weeks off in the month of Ramadan. What are your thoughts on that? The people who get attached to dunya, but rather they don't plan for things like Ramadan and essential moments.
Maybe a lot of people don't think like that. When you're in a world where you're just thinking about everything else, even for the people that are practicing, it's like a bare minimum. They're thinking about their 5 prayers, right? They're thinking about the bare minimum. So that's the extra, that takes a lot of extra thinking. I'm going to take my 2 weeks off, the last 10 nights. That's a great idea for anybody that's listening, anybody that sees this. If you do work, and you have a job, try your best to save up your PTO hours, whether it's this Ramadan or next Ramadan. Try your best to save up, all those hours for at least the last 10 nights of Ramadan. I know some people that go to Umrah and spend Ramadan there, or a whole month sometimes. That's a blessing, so that's a great idea by Brother Najib,
Athman, what do you think?
Wallahi, I'm definitely going to ask my man for time off.
You're right, for sure.
So, no, I think, it's a good point. A time, Ramadan is a time where if you could make seclusion for yourself, and this is what i'tikaf is all about, is seclusion. You want to make seclusion so you can spend time with you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You can have that relationship. Whether it's dua or Quran is highly, highly recommended for you to be reading. But making that seclusion, whether it is, even if you're not going to go and do i'tikaf in the masjid, why don't you just go in your home and spend a couple hours in a room and just just reflect and look at yourself, make dua to Allah, read some Quran, look at some hadith, go into the seerah, do something, right? There's many things that we can do, and Allah places the emphasis on inspiration in this month, right? That we could be taken for the rest of the months that come after to actually be better, right? Or to perfect and to do, so definitely if somebody's able to, do it. Take some time. Yes.
Yeah, and I mean, these are especially people who are families, and especially the Muslim man who is in charge of a family really has to have a lot of priority, because sometimes you'll see even in Ramadan, in Eid, he goes to work. Subhanallah. And mom runs off to work or something. Yeah. Parents especially who don't min sha'air Islam, at least from the most foundational moments, and especially for young kids to love the deen and to put the sweetness of iman in their hearts is these type of moments, right? Ramadan and get-togethers and family and Eid and so on and so forth. Imagine the people who don't take the time off and plan accordingly and be like, this time I want my kids to get more understanding of the deen. I'm going to spend more time with my family. I'm going to engage with them. I'm going to take Eid the next day off, so I can actually take a trip with them instead of having a summer trip that's really random once a year. Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's actually a really good point. Those days that are supposed to be our days of happiness, whether it's a Friday, Jummah, people working on Jummah, people working on Eid, some people working through Ramadan, they're just working through these most important days. Yeah. So if we don't make them significant, how do we expect our children to do so?
Impossible.
And, I mean, I get it. Sometimes you just have to work because you can't get every single day that you want off. But definitely you have to prioritize and look for those important days. Yeah. So Eid and, the days of, Ramadan, and those are really, really important days. And Friday, I think this is also a good reminder too, is when we live in a country, it's not Muslim, and we have our children, they go to school, they have parties on Valentine's Day, Christmas, Halloween, and St. Patrick's Day, all these, and they look at all these non-Muslim kids and they're having fun, they're having a blast, all this candy and cupcake, they want to join in, and then they come home on a Friday and they're just sitting there the whole time.
Nothing's going on, yeah.
So then we expect, like, and you got parents complaining, I don't know what's wrong with my kids. Maybe if you actually took those days, to show them it's important, they would say, you know what, I don't need Christmas. My Baba, he takes me out on Eid, which is every week, Friday. Or he takes me out on the Eid and we have even more fun. Right?
Or at least it draws that line, like, oh, you guys have Christmas, well, I have Eid.
Exactly, right?
So it draws that line.
But we don't. The kids, they don't have that pride, because we don't have that pride in those days, right? We don't have those like, oh, Eid. Eid changed, man. Eid became something else.
One thing I want to add is one thing very important to the listeners is, you want to get to a place in life where you don't have to ask anybody for days off. As Muslims, we should take, especially the ones that are growing up here, that are going to college here. You should be at a place in life where you don't need to ask anybody for those days off, or you're at a high position where if you ask, it's guaranteed. You get what I'm saying? So, but we have to hold ourselves to those standards, right? Imagine you're always asking somebody, can I take these days off, and then it's up to them, right? Oh no, we need you those days. So try your best to get to a place in life where you can actually take your family off for a whole week, and you're financially stable, and that's the happiest, that's amazing. Moment, exactly.
Idris, we know a lot of young brothers, and a lot of young brothers in Ramadan time, even though they have a lot of free time. We just spoke about people who don't have much time, and they don't take time to free from work, for family. We have a lot of young brothers and sisters who are young who have a lot of free time. Yeah, but yet again, in Ramadan time, it's a time for bashal, relaxing, chilling, and they stay awake all night doing things, and all day they sleep, and they wake up right before iftar, and they get to it. What do we say to them? What do we say to them?
It's ajib, like if you look at
Oh, mashallah, we got that body going on. Listening to Quran, another preparation for Ramadan.
This is
that's essential right there.
it's a matun. Okay.
I like it.
Yeah, so we're talking about having time, right? I heard somebody in a poem, they said, we think we're killing time, but time is killing us, which is pretty dope, right? So a lot of young guys, and it's so sad if you read history, people that read the Salaf, right, and the Sahaba, you read about their life, the one thing they're known for is night prayer. They're up all night praying at the night, right? Which is a huge, right, priority for the Muslim if they can do it. And then you have the people of today. At least if you're asleep, it makes sense. You have an excuse. Why didn't you pray tahajjud? I was sleeping. Okay. Why didn't you pray tahajjud? He's on Netflix. 3 a.m. The night where, look at this, yeah. Allah comes down to the lowest heaven and he says, ask me anything, I'll grant it to you. This person might be going through something in their life that they really need answers to, but he's up watching Netflix, right? Instead of taking, but you have to know, right? You have to know in order to take advantage. So, a lot of brothers, like you said, young people, sisters, they have a lot of free time with nothing to do, because honestly, the things you're supposed to do, they're very hard on your soul, right? Reading Quran, sitting there and reading Quran for an hour, it's really hard. It needs discipline, right? So it's not easy to just get up and start reading Quran. It's very easy to get on Netflix, right?
Sure.
You already signed in. You don't even have to sign in. You already signed in. You just open it, you choose and you just lay back. Look at that. You're sleeping, you're laying, you got the chips right there. It's easy, right? It's not discipline. It's not hard. Waking up for Fajr is very hard. It's discipline. It takes discipline. Going to the masajid is discipline. So, and these things build you up for life, not only in Islam, but in the real world. You got to be disciplined. You have to, and that's the reality of why we're not successful. Not only in Islam, but have you noticed we're not successful in general? In dunya even. And that's the biggest loser. He's not successful in this world. He's not doing the next. That's the biggest loser. So at least the thing you gain from it is discipline. I'm up in the morning, and most successful people, if you ask them, they're up in the morning, early in the morning, right? Okay, I'm not successful, but I do have a trait of a successful person. I'm up in the morning at least, right? So they're reading, right? They also read. They read like 100 books a year, right? Last time this guy read was probably in 3rd grade when he had to read. So all these things build discipline for a better life, not only spiritually, but financially, physically, mentally. So you're only hurting yourself by not taking advantage of your time. And one of the things on the Day of Judgment you'll be asked about is your time, right? One of the 5 things, your time before you became busy. Not only that, but then your youth. But isn't your youth part of your time? Of course. Look how important it is, right? Allah double downs on it. He says your time is your whole life. But how about your youth? What were you doing when you were young and you had free time and you didn't have to worry about bills? Right now, we don't have to worry about bills till we're 26, 27, which is even later than some people, 17. So you have 27 years. You could become a doctor. You could become an alim at the same time. What were you doing? You know, so this is a reminder to all of us that Wallahi is going to come back to haunt us in this world first and then the next.
Another very surprising thing, if we get a little bit more current with the 2020 Ramadan year, inshallah it's going to be a big Ramadan year. If we go into what's happening today in the world with the coronavirus and the epidemic of the disease and how contagious it is, and we want to know, guys, brothers, Idris, Uthman, how will coronavirus affect this year's Ramadan, where already some states and some places around the world, I mean, a few weeks ago, I know the Kaaba in Mecca and Medina, congregations were stopped. Here now, even some states have stopped some of the congregations in Salah, and anywhere, Italy and some countries are on lockdown. Few people cannot come together. Just for the fear of contagiousness. Uthman, hey, what do you think, how will Ramadan be if situation continues like this? And if it changes, alhamdulillah, we hope for things to change so that people can freely mix and get together and do their ibadat. But if it doesn't, and just like today, many masajid did not have Jum'ah, and imagine Ramadan being here, and Ramadan without Taraweeh and coming together, how would that type of Ramadan be? Uthman, what do you think?
Wow, I think, the present situation doesn't at the moment seem like it's getting any better. But, we do ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make it easy for us in this month. Who knows, maybe there will be something good coming out of this. We never know. But as of right now, it doesn't look too good. It doesn't look too good. It'll be very awkward.
Yeah.
It'll be probably the most awkwardest
Ramadan ever.
ever. You know, to not being able to go Tarawih, Jumu'ah, it's itself alone. You know, a lot of people's school is just finishing up, so they're gonna have a lot of time on their hands inside their homes, right? Not going anywhere, and you know, many of the masajid have chose to close down nationwide. So I mean, because that is really a highlight of Ramadan in the West. It's not a Muslim country. We don't hear the adhan, right, unless it's on our phones, right? As opposed to other places where you can hear the adhan, you can go to the masjid. You're reminded constantly here. You're reminded of Iblis and his sunnah here. Everywhere you turn, you see something that he influenced or he produced. And I think it would be difficult, but I do have hopes that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has a way, you know, if we fear وَمَنْ يَجْعَلُهُ وَمَنْ يَتَّقِ اللَّهَ يَجْعَلُهُ مَخْرَجًا. All right, so there's makhraj in ways even though you don't see it.
Yeah.
So you see the window, it has an opening, the door has an opening. Allah said he will tear an opening out of this wall that you're going to see a way out. All right, so that's makhraj. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us this makhraj in this time, because right now it's extremely difficult. And even for people who are looking forward to the month of Ramadan, you know, it can even be a bit demoralizing. But to have that element of faith and hope in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that he will definitely show us a way out, just like he's shown us many times a way out. Yeah. So, you know.
Idris, what are your thoughts? Imagine Ramadan without Taraweeh and get-togethers and jama'at and families even being scared of one another to come together.
Yeah, it would be
fear of contagious. Yeah,
it would be really sad. It would be different. You know, like you said, you don't know. It might be something good might come out of it. Who knows? It's something different.
Yeah.
When it comes to Taraweeh, you know, I remember reading one of the first in the early generations. You know, one guy would lead like 3 people, another guy would lead like 6, and then Umar bin Khattab said, "Come together, let's have one leader." So maybe we go back to the old ways. Every guy leaves his own house. Right?
I like that. I like that.
Own house, 5 people. Like so, but in terms of this virus that's going around, may Allah protect us from it first of all. And something that's very important that I saw from this is the adhkar. You know, a lot of people, it's common sense when something like this happens, you run to the adhkar. But the adhkar is not only made for when viruses come up. It's for all times. Absolutely. You know, so keep your adhkar up. Always read your adhkar. That Allah protects you day and night. Also, basic hygiene, right? I know a lot of people wash their hands, but something you could do is you can make wudu. You clean yourself, plus you get ajr. Yeah. Right. Sure. So if you're gonna clean yourself, at least get ajr for it.
Even if you have wudu, it's actually a sunnah. It's recommended to just do wudu, like for every salah, even if you have it. And this is something that Bilal used to do. And the Prophet ﷺ, he praised Bilal and said that I heard your footsteps ahead of me in Jannah. Asked why, because of the action that he does, he makes wudu and then he prays 2 rak'ah. And then Abu Hurairah would say, you know, after he heard that, he would do isbal. Isbal is when you do much more. Yeah, ziyada. So he would wash it all the way up to his shoulders, right? He used to. So just there's a lot of things that we can do. You know, the Muslims are intended to be the most cleanest people on the face of the earth. We are we are the biggest community that we don't smoke or drink alcohol. We don't do drugs as a whole, right? So we actually are supposed to be the most healthiest people on the face of the earth today. Okay. Unfortunately, you know, sometimes we see in our community some people are not taking those advices. You know, like we're clean people because the Quran and the Sunnah tells us to be clean and to you know, take those sort of precautions, hygiene, clean yourself, washing your hands. So I know as long as we do that, I think I think this thing's.
One thing I would add is though, a lot of people on social media, I'm barely on social media nowadays, but when like the World War III thing was taught, one of the nastiest traits this as a generation we have on social media is we mock everything. We make a joke out of everything, right? You have people laughing about the coronavirus. This is a deadly virus. People actually died from this. So it's not something to laugh about. Right? It's something very serious. But the most serious things, they'll make a joke out of it. Right, and they'll laugh about, which is not. It's not funny. It's not intended to be funny. So
who's that remind you of in the Quran?
That makes a mockery out of
the most serious things.
Is it a person?
No, the nations that passed us, the nations before, they would do this. This is a trait of theirs.
They would mock,
especially towards the Anbiya.
Absolutely, they would mock them.
Right.
And we there's messengers of messengers, right? Telling you do good. Oh yeah, you just want to read Quran. Go, you're just a sheikh. All this stuff. Sheikh, shaitan. So we do that, right?
Let's not mock those things. And even when we're talking about Ramadan, people that want to change in Ramadan. Right, this guy is the biggest, criminal, whatever he is. But in Ramadan comes, oh, look at him, he wants to change now. Obviously, he wants to change. It's common sense. The sister's not wearing hijab for 11 months. Ramadan, she says, for the sake of Allah, I'm wearing my hijab. Oh, look at her trying to change for Ramadan. That's the. I know you don't get it, but that's the point of Ramadan, right? It's laughable. It's actually what you're supposed to do. Right. So. It's very laughable. It's like, bro, you're supposed to do that. If you didn't pray before, you're supposed to pray. That's true. This is the easiest time. If the sister didn't wear the hijab, if you told me, hey, for $1 million, guess which month she's gonna wear the hijab? I'm gonna say Ramadan.
Right. That's true.
People laughing. Don't mind people mocking you. Just purify your intentions. You're doing this for the sake of Allah. And you'll be good. So let's not mock our brothers and sisters that are trying to change for the better. Let's encourage them
for sure.
Right. So let's not mock things that are serious like this virus. May Allah protect us from it. And I'm looking forward to Ramadan, inshallah.
For sure. And also just quickly, may Allah give shifat to all the people who are afflicted with it. Because we are a people of rahmah. We're not just like we only care about ourselves, but we do care about people, even non-Muslims. And because if we want people to be guided, we inshallah with health, good health, right? So we also do want we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give all those people who are afflicted with this a quick shifa, and hidayah.
And one thing I would like to add and end with is, let's listen to the people that are, if it's scholars, let's listen to the scholars.
Our local ulama.
Let's not listen to some guys on Twitter. When it comes to medical things, let's listen to the doctors and the experts, right?
Absolutely.
So if we listen to these two people and they work together, then we follow what they say about Taraweeh or anything,
absolutely.
Right? We're not... some random guy I know is going to come up and say, I want to pray Taraweeh in the Masajid, then, start a fuss. We don't need to do that. It's already crazy as it is. Let's not just make it worse. So let's listen to the experts scholars, and let's listen to the scholars, inshallah.
For sure. We hope, inshallah, this Ramadan is going to be a great Ramadan. And we hope everybody, inshallah, takes those tips of preparation, fasting, salah, Quran, ibadat, and definitely good companionship. This is something maybe we didn't have time to talk about, but for sure, surrounding yourself with this is one of the best strategies one can do right before Ramadan is, if you haven't already done so, find the right companions and good brothers and sisters that can help you elevate your iman and your status and nearness towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And depending on how the situation goes, inshallah, we hope everything clears by Ramadan. And if it doesn't, like Idris and Uthman were saying, always just, we're going to wait for the protocol of the ulama and the experts in the topic. فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ, right? We go to the people who have knowledge of this specific thing. If we don't have that knowledge, and so inshallah everything will be. But some people, I'm afraid, might take the easy way out and be like, oh, no Taraweeh, no masajid, no gatherings. I'm gonna just go and chill, relax, and you know what?
No fasting.
That's the last one. And no fasting.
What's the point of fasting?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So people, I think
there will always be people. Like
people
that,
make up their own stuff, their own religion. If I can't pray Taraweeh and I can't go to the masajid, then that automatically must mean I can't fast.
It just makes sense.
SubhanAllah. So make sure, for sure, some of the foundations and the wajibat of the deen, they're never lifted. Some have exceptions but never complete it, especially like salah and fasting. If somebody has medical issue, that's one thing, but young healthy people, especially like majority of people, mashallah, who are capable of fasting, that's never lifted. So make sure we're always doing the best that we can, inshallah. And it might be harder to have the full capacity of benefit of Ramadan if without jama'at and tarawih, obvious. I mean, that's clearly obvious. If you can't go to the jama'at and hang out at the masjid and hang out with the brothers and seek knowledge and so on. Some people, it's hard. They need the jama'at in order. That's why a lot of people actually do better in Ramadan, because they come around, places of khairat. And so it's easier for them to increase their iman. But if that's out of the picture, we hope not, inshallah. Nevertheless, don't give up, have hope, and inshallah do the best that you can to still have the best possible Ramadan. Shout out and make dua for your brothers Idris wa Uthman wa Najib. And inshallah, give us your feedback and ideas on other things that we have some things planned out, but we want to get your feedback and input, inshallah. Tell us about the Deen Lovers podcast and how we can better give you more resources, inshallah. This is all about وَتَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْبِرِّ وَالتَّقْوَى, that we help each other in that which will all get us nearer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in piety and righteousness, inshallah, and the fear of Allah. وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين.
وإيماني أضاء الكون وزمن بإسلامي وإيماني أضاء الكون وزمن